Hey guys, Rick Stone here from Stoney Acres Gardening. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about 6 cool season crops that you can still be planting in May, even though it's starting to get warm. Now before we get started, please make sure you subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell so you can get noticed every time I release new videos, which is at least once a week. So we'd love to have you join us. So let me deliver first on the 6. So the 6 crops that we're going to talk about in this video are beets, carrots, kale, collards, Swiss chard, and summer crisp lettuces. Those are the 6 crops that are cool season crops that we can still be planting in May. Now, why is this a concern? A lot of us are thinking, well, it's still cool. I mean, it's only going to be about 65 degrees today here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it's still cool weather. But here's what you need to think about. Most of our cool season crops will mature in about 60 to 75 days. So if you were to plant cool season crops right now in the middle of May, when are they going to mature? They're going to mature in the middle of July to maybe the first part of August. That is not good weather for cool season crops. It will be way too hot by then for any of those crops to be in any type of good condition by the time it's time to harvest them. And what's going to happen to those crops? 2 things are going to happen to our cool season crops when we start growing them in the summertime. The first is they are going to get bitter. So most of our cool season crops, our leafy greens, our broccoli, our cabbage, our cauliflower, all of those crops are going to get bitter tasting when it gets hot. That's just one of the things that naturally happens to those plants, is they get bitter. The second thing is that those plants are going to want to go to seed. We call that bolting. And most cool season crops, not all, but most cool season crops will want to bolt when the weather gets hot. That's as they start to get stressed by that heat, that's their reaction. They want to, as quickly as possible, throw up a seed head and try and reproduce before they die because of that summertime heat. And so both of those things combine to make most of our cool season crops not very appealing to harvest in July and August. So we don't want to be planting them now in May. But there are a few things that we can plant during the month of May that are actually going to do pretty well. And the first one on the list is beets. So beets actually do pretty well in the summertime. They stand up well to the heat. They're what we call a biannual plant, which means that they set seed in the 2nd year of their growth, which means if we plant and harvest these this year, they're not going to go to seed. So it's very, very seldom that I see a beet go to seed in the first year that I planted it. So we can go ahead and plant beets directly by seed. So we're going to direct sow beets in the garden now in May. They're going to grow up and do just fine. They may not be quite as sweet as they would have been if you had planted them a little earlier in the spring or waited until later in the fall, but they're still going to do really well. They're going to grow well, you're going to get nice sized beets, and they'll be quite tasty. And so beets do really well during the summertime, and you can get them planted in May. Next on the list is carrots, and I've got some Scarlet Nantes carrots here. Carrots are a little bit more edgy for me planting this time of year. It's still nice and cool, and so you should get nice even germination with your carrots. The problem is that carrots that are grown in the summertime are actually quite carroty, if that makes sense. So the taste will be very strong. That traditional carrot taste will be pretty strong. And so I recommend that if you're going to plant carrots in May, that you choose some varieties that are a little bit quicker to grow and a little bit shorter and smaller. So like this one, these are Scarlet Nantes. Another favorite variety of ours is Little Fingers. Both of those only get about 4 to 5 inch roots, which will grow a little quicker and are less susceptible to that bitterness. But the nice thing about carrots is, again, they're biannual, which means they will not set seed and bolt during the summertime. That's going to happen next year if you let them go through the winter. Next on our list is kale. Kale does really well during the summer. Again, kale is a biannual plant. It is not going to bolt and go to seed during the summertime. It just won't happen. You can plant kale with starts like this, or you can direct sow those seeds in the garden. Either one is going to do great. The one thing that you need to be aware of is that kale grown in the summertime tastes very kale-like, if that makes sense. So the kale that you get at the grocery store that has that really strong taste to it, that's what your garden-grown kale is going to taste like in the summertime, which is okay for a lot of people. A lot of people like that flavor, others don't. Kale will do well, it's going to grow well, and the nice thing about it is if you plant it now in May, you'll start harvesting it in July, and it will kind of just go through the summertime, and those plants will continue to grow, and you can harvest leaves from them, and then all of a sudden it's fall again, and those leaves will sweeten up, and you'll be able to continue to harvest those plants well into the fall. So a May planting of kale should last you well till October, maybe even early November. So get some kale planted this time of the year. Another leafy green that you can be planting in May is collards. So collards, much like kale, are going to do really well in the summertime. They're going to produce nice big leaves. Again, those leaves might not be as sweet or as tasty as they would have been if you'd grown them in the spring or if you wait and grow them in the fall. But collards are a great leafy green that you can grow during the summer. They will not bolt during the summertime. They're biannual like kale, and so they're going to wait until next year to bolt. And so you should be able to get a pretty decent harvest of collards throughout the summertime. Again, this might be one that you might want to plant in the margins of your gardens. You could maybe put them behind your tomato plants or underneath your trellis of squash or something like that, where they get a little bit of shade at parts of the day. That will kind of help them along, but collards are going to do really well planted in May. Next would be Swiss chard, and Swiss chard is going to do well either direct sown in your garden, or you can plant them with seedlings like I'm going to be doing here in May. Swiss chard is another one of those that's going to stand up well to the summer heat. It is not biannual, which means eventually this plant is going to bolt and go to seed. But the nice thing about Swiss chard is it takes a long time for that to happen. And especially if you're fairly aggressive about harvesting and keeping those leaves smaller, that plant that you plant in May, or even the seeds that you direct sow in May, are going to last well until September, maybe early October, before they finally decide to bolt and go to seed. So another good leafy green option for you in the summertime. And plant them now, they'll do well throughout the summer months. Last on the list is a lettuce, but it's a very specific category of lettuce that I'm going to be talking to you about, and that is summer crisp lettuces. Now, those of you that have watched my videos before know that I love summer crisp lettuces. Our favorite variety is Nevada, which you can get from Mountain Valley Seed Company, and there are some other varieties as well that I would recommend to you. So the 5 varieties of summer crisp lettuces are Nevada, Magenta, Cherokee, Muir, and Fusion. We've grown all of those and liked all of them, and they do really well planted in May and grown through the summer. So summer crisp lettuces offer some real advantages over traditional lettuces. First off, they don't bolt. It is almost impossible to get a summer crisp lettuce to bolt. Trust me, I know, I've tried, because I would like to save my own seeds. They're all open pollinated, but they resist bolting really well. And so planting them in May, they're going to do fine in the summer heat, and they're not going to bolt. They also resist a problem that we call tip burn, which is when the tips of the lettuce get burned from the heat. Now, they're not perfect at that, but they resist it a lot longer, and so you'll have that happen a lot later in the season with these summer crisp lettuces. And then the other nice thing about them is they don't get bitter. So they don't get bitter like traditional lettuces, which means that you can have them growing during the summertime. Now, I'm not telling those of you that live in Phoenix, Arizona, that you're going to be able to grow lettuce in August. It will not stand up to 125-degree temperatures. But for those of us that live in zones 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7, where our summertime temperatures are usually traditionally in the 90s and maybe we get up into the hundreds every once in a while, this is a really good option for you. Summer crisp lettuces will do really well, and then all of a sudden you've got lettuce to have a salad with your tomatoes, or maybe lettuce to put on your hamburgers in July. It's really nice to have, and so I would encourage you to try out some summer crisp lettuces this May. Get them planted. You can either direct sow them in the garden, or you can use transplants that you've grown yourself as well. These are going to be a really good option for you so that you can actually have some lettuce during the summer months. All right, so that are our 6 cool season crops that you can plant during the month of May. This is all part of something that I just love, which is year-round gardening, and having a focus on planting your garden all throughout the season so that you have this continual flow of produce. all the way into the fall and winter months as well. And one of the things that we're doing right now is we're actually starting to think about our fall garden. I know that sounds funny because we're just right in the middle of spring, we're just getting our warm season crops planted, but it's actually time to start thinking about those fall and winter crops as well. And one of the things that I have provided for you guys to maybe help you out a little bit is a free mini course. So this is our year-round gardening mini course. It's about 45 minutes long, 100% free. There's a link down in the description of this video that you can click on that will take you over and you can get signed up for it. It'll teach you a little bit more about what you need to be doing now to lay the groundwork for your fall and winter garden. So go click down below and get signed up for that free mini course. All right, my friends, that's all I have for you for this week. Please make sure you get subscribed to our channel. We have hundreds of thousands of views every month, and a lot of you are not subscribed. I would love to have you get subscribed, so get signed up there. We're shooting for maybe making it to 200,000 by the end of this summer, so I would love to have you get subscribed so that we can hit that number. That would be pretty awesome. So go ahead, get subscribed, give this video a thumbs up, and we will talk to you next week. Happy gardening.